They say goodbye at an airport like they've already lived a lifetime together. But this isn't the end, it's the beginning. A story that starts with a farewell and moves backward to a first glance. To a warm meeting at a colleague's birthday. To a casual conversation that became necessary. To a love that grows quietly and stays real. This is the story of Bonnie and Damon. About the fear of losing and the courage to return. About small things that turn into home. And about a love that survives even when distance stands between you. Because sometimes true love doesn't shout. It softly says, "I'm here."
Love Stories Max. Welcome to my channel. Enjoy watching, friends.
Between goodbye and the first look. Airports always smell like goodbyes. Like coffee, cold metal, and words that get stuck in your throat. Bonnie is holding her ticket too tightly, as if paper could hold time in place. Damon stands across from her, hands in his pockets, shoulders tense, his gaze almost painfully attentive. He looks at her as if he's trying to memorize every small detail. The way a strand of hair falls against her cheek. The way she bites her lip when she's nervous. The way her eyes shine with tears she refuses to let fall. She starts, and stops. He smiles. Just a little. That crooked smile she knows far too well. "We've already said everything," Damon says quietly. They stand close, almost touching foreheads. Close enough to feel like they've lived an entire lifetime together. Mornings with half-cold coffee. Arguments over nothing. Laughter in the middle of the night. Silences warmer than words. He pulls her into an embrace. Not suddenly. Not briefly. His hand rests on her back in that familiar way. The way it always does. And Bonnie suddenly realizes. The most painful part isn't the goodbye. It's that he knows her body by heart. "Thank you for being here," he whispers. "Thank you for teaching me not to be afraid," she answers. Boarding is announced. She steps back, then another step, and in that moment, the world turns backward. A colleague's birthday. Back then, Bonnie didn't want to go to that party. The workday had been long, her dress too simple, her mood non-existent. The colleague's apartment buzzed with laughter, music, and conversations that weren't hers. She was standing near the table with the cake, trying to look engaged, when he walked in. Damon. No dramatic entrance. No loud gestures. He simply appeared, and the room subtly shifted. He wore a dark shirt with the sleeves rolled up, a bottle of wine in his hands, smiling like someone who had arrived late to a story that wasn't his. Their eyes met by accident. And lingered. Not lightning. Not fireworks. Something deeper. A quiet recognition. "Are you hiding from the noise too?" he asked later, joining her on the balcony. "I'm breathing out here," Bonnie said. "Then I'll stay. I need air too." He didn't touch her, and yet she felt his presence clearly, as if a thin, invisible thread had been pulled tight between them. He remembered she drank her tea without sugar. She remembered he always checked if the door was locked. He texted, "Did you get home?" She replied, "Yes. Thank you for remembering." They could sit in silence for hours, and it never scared them. He listened to her as if every word mattered. She laughed at his sarcasm, but she could see what hid beneath it: vulnerability. Once, she fell asleep on his shoulder on the subway. He didn't move when his stop came. He got off later, walked home, in the rain. He was afraid of getting attached. She was afraid of losing. They didn't argue loudly. They argued painfully. With looks, with pauses, with sentences spoken too late. "You always leave when things get hard," she said one evening. "Because I'm afraid of destroying what I love," he answered. And that was when she understood. He wasn't cold. He was scared. And now, this airport, this goodbye, this life that didn't unfold the way they dreamed. Bonnie passes through security, but turns back for one last second. Damon is still standing there, not moving, watching her, and in that moment, she knows. Even if they never end up together, they already were everything. And no one can take that away from them. 6 months passed. Bonnie learned how to live through mornings without his messages. She learned not to reach for her phone the moment she woke up. She learned to drink her coffee slowly, not for two, just for herself. But some things don't disappear. She still bought tea without sugar, out of habit. She still left the kitchen light on at night, as if someone might come back. Sometimes she caught herself smiling, remembering how he used to fix her scarf, silently, carefully. That evening, she wasn't expecting anything special. She just stopped by a small cafe near the station, the same one where they once warmed their hands around cups and stayed quiet longer than they spoke. She ordered tea. No sugar. Still the same? The voice was painfully familiar. Bonnie looked up. Damon stood there, a little thinner, with that same attentive look in his eyes. As if this entire time, he had never stopped seeing her. "You," she held her breath. "I'm back," he said softly. "And if you'll let me, I don't want to leave again." They sat at the same table by the window. Between them lay months of silence, fear, and unfinished thoughts. But they didn't press down on them. They softened them. "I've thought a lot," Damon said, tracing the rim of his cup. "About us. About how easy it is to lose what matters most when you're afraid to hold onto it." Bonnie listened. Didn't interrupt. He had learned to speak. She had learned to wait. "I won't promise perfection," he continued. "But I promise to stay. Even when it's hard." She reached out her hand. Not suddenly. The same way he once held her in the airport. "That's enough for me," she said. Rain fell outside the window. The same kind of rain as the day he missed his stop so he wouldn't wake her. He smiled. That same crooked smile. "Do you still fall asleep on public transport?" "Only when it feels safe," she replied. And this time, no one was in a hurry. No one was saying goodbye. Because sometimes love isn't allowed forever. Sometimes it's a quiet, "I'm here." A year passed. A year in which they learned not to run. They learned to speak in time. They learned to listen, not to reply, but to understand. Mornings began with small things. Damon always woke up earlier and quietly closed the window so Bonnie wouldn't get cold. Bonnie left him notes in the kitchen, short, slightly silly. always with a little heart in the corner. They argued, but now, without destruction. With pauses. With hugs afterward. With a warm, "I'm with you," even when they disagreed. That day, they drove out of the city without a plan. Just the road, a thermos of sugar-free tea, and the music they used to listen to when everything was just beginning. The rain came unexpectedly. Soft, almost gentle. They hid beneath an old tree. Damon draped his jacket over Bonnie's shoulders, out of habit. She smiled. "You always do that," she said. "Because you're always cold," he replied. He went quiet. For the first time. Not because he didn't know what to say, but because he knew exactly what mattered. Damon pulled out a small box. "Not perfect, but real. I don't want a life without you," he said simply. "I don't want separate mornings. I don't want goodbyes. I want ordinary days. A home. And you." Bonnie didn't answer right away. There were tears in her eyes, warm, alive. "Yes," she whispered. "I've been saying yes for a long time." The ring was simple, but when he slid it onto her finger, the world seemed to fall into place. The wedding was quiet, without excess, with close friends, warm light, and laughter that came easily. As they danced, Bonnie rested her head on his shoulder, just like she once had on the subway. "Do you remember the airport?" she asked. "I do," he said. "And I know I'll never let you go again." And this wasn't a promise anymore. It was a truth. Sometimes love doesn't arrive loudly. It doesn't burst in, it stays. It lives in small things. In a cup of sugar-free tea. In a jacket placed over someone's shoulders. In a light left on for another person. Bonnie and Damon were not perfect. They made mistakes. They were afraid. But they learned how to return to each other, again and again. Because real love isn't about the absence of pain. It's about the choice to stay when leaving would be easier. To wait when disappearing feels simpler. To reach out, even with trembling hands. And if love has a shape, it is the shape of home. A place where you are expected. A place where you are known. A place where you are loved, not for something, but in spite of everything.